So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's Zen and Zazen class. Today is one of these weeks where I will talk about Sawaki Roshi's to you. But before that, let's sit together for half an hour. And after I say some things, you can ask questions or share stuff that you would like to share. Thank you very much for joining. So today I will talk about Sawaki Roshi's To You. Last time, 2 weeks ago, we finished chapter 3. The next chapter, chapter 4, has the title To You who have just begun brooding over life. One thing that I was kind of wondering about when I was translating this, I had an American co-translator. His name is Jesse Reiho Harsh. He's also a Zen monk. He's living in Nagasaki. And we were discussing this. Like, is you singular or plural? At least in the German, it's singular. So I would have written to you who has just begun brooding over life. But for some reason, we decided for you to you who have. So we are addressing the audience in the plural form, which is okay, of course, but instinctively I would have chosen to you who has just begun brooding over life. Be that as it may, the first two quotes. What a shame to have been born a human being and to spend your whole life worrying. You should reach the point where you can be happy to have been born a human. And the second quote is birth, old age, sickness and death. We can't fool around with these ultimate facts. So I want to start with the second quote because that's kind of basic Buddhism. Life is suffering is often quoted as the first truth of Buddhism. It's not that we suffer from birth to death, but basically what is called suffering in Buddhism, or in India it's dukkha. It means nothing goes as we would want it to go. I'm not quite sure what dukkha actually means, but I think it refers to the axis of a wheel, and the axis is broken, or maybe it's out of center. So the wheel is still spinning, but as it's out of center, the wheel doesn't really go the way you want it. If it was a bicycle, you can still drive it, but it doesn't feel so good. Or if it's a cart and you're sitting in the cart, it's shaking. So nobody of us decided to be born into this world. Nobody asked us if we want to be born. As soon as we realize that we're already here, we couldn't choose it. We couldn't choose the person that we were born as. So I didn't choose to be born in Germany 1968. I didn't want to become male. I have no problems with that. But nobody asks you, would you prefer to be male, or would you prefer to be female? What kind of the world do you want to be born? We can't choose our parents. We can't choose nothing. And then we get older each day. We can't choose that. And even those people of us who are quite happy with the fact that we are born into this world, we're also quite satisfied with the person that we are. Most of us that are happy to be here still would maybe prefer to stay young. So most of us are not happy with each day. Oh, finally, I got 1 day older. Finally. Maybe when we're very young, like on the 5th birthday, we're very proud. Now I'm 5, now I'm 6, now I'm 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. But after some time, you're not so happy anymore. Wow, now I'm 55. Next year I'm going to be 56. We're not so satisfied about getting older. And about getting sick, of course not. We want to be healthy. When we're sick, we want to get well soon. And then with death, again, even those of us who are maybe not so happy about being born in the world, most of us, when it comes to dying, we also say, wait a little, I'm in no hurry to die. But those are the basic facts. We can't fool around that. You are born into this world and you don't know why. You get older every day. You can't deny that, even if you put up makeup, whatever, you pretend to be 5 years younger than you are. You're gonna get sick and you're gonna die one day. So those are the facts of life, and that's where Buddhism starts with. You can't choose anything. So where does this suffering come from? How do you deal with it? And basically, where there's the so-called Four Noble Truths that says suffering, that's a fact. You're not satisfied. Why do you suffer? Because you have attachments. But there's a way to, well, deal with these attachments. There's a way to let go of these attachments, be less attached. And that's the so-called Eightfold Path. Right view, right thinking, right speech. What is it? Right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These 8. So if we practice these, it will enable us to be less attached. So using my usual metaphor, it makes it easier to be not absorbed by the game. We realize it's not all about the points that we make in the game. It's not about winning or losing. All of these right speech, right effort, right action, it means basically play the game in a fair way. It's not about winning or losing. You don't have to win whatever it matters. But rather than trying to win, try to play in a fair way. And that makes it then easier to be free from the game. And then the first quote, here at the end, Sawaki Roshi. Sawaki Roshi says, you should reach the point where you can be happy to have been born a human. So nonetheless, that being in this world means suffering. In a way, paradoxically, he says, you have to reach the point where you're happy to be suffering, so to speak. You're happy to have been born, even though you didn't choose to be born. Even though you didn't choose this life, you didn't choose that person that you are. You should be happy that you were born exactly at this time in the history of humanity, exactly as that person that you are, and that you are living exactly that life that you're actually living right now. And I think that's what Dogen Zenji means when he's talking in the Tenzo Kyokun, the instructions for the cook. He's using the Japanese word kishin, which means joyful mind or joyful heart. Sometimes, for example, if you're in a dojo, that means a Zen community, and you have a certain responsibility, but you didn't choose that responsibility. Sometimes it happens that we wish, oh, why couldn't I have a different job, a different responsibility? For example, when you're the cook during a session, you have to cook. You didn't choose to be the cook. And you wish, why can't I sit with the others? Why do I have to be the cook? And in this case, you have to get to the point where you're happy to be the cook. Good that I was born into the world. Good that I encountered the Zen. Good that I have the privilege to join a session right now. And very good that I can cook for the others. But unfortunately, more often than not, we don't feel like that. We hate the fact that we have to cook When we have to sit, we wait for the bell to ring. Why can't the bell ring faster? It must be 30 minutes. And some of us, we even hate the fact that we were born into this world. But what a waste. What a waste it would be if we spent our whole life worrying and cursing the fact that we were born. Okay, I talked a lot, so maybe Xuan-san, you can translate. And after that, if you have stuff you would like to ask or share, you're welcome to do so.
今天我们读泽木老师的那本书，然后上次课呢，我们其实完成了前3章，今天开始从第4章开始。第4章的题目是给那些沉思的人。然后这个题目呢，这本书是吴芳老师他从日语翻译过来的，然后他翻译成了德语，也翻译成了英文。他翻译英文的时候呢，还有一个就是也在日本跟他一起的一个朋友帮他矫正，就他帮他矫正那个修正英文的时候，他们其实把原来日语那个意思稍微语的意思是，那些开始穿着正装的人，但是如果直译翻译日语的话，可能翻译成英语，大家会有歧义，所以老师在这儿其实做了一个改动。然后今天他读了前面2章，我简单的给大家翻译一下哈，就是我们总是觉得很惭愧，就是出生成为一个人，我们总是觉得很惭愧，并且我们花了我们整个的生命的时间来担心某些事情，你总是想要到达一个点，什么地方呢？就是你可以，你应该到达啊，英语，你应该到达一个点，应该到达一个地方，就是你应该感到快乐，你应该感到成为一个人，是出生为人而感到快乐。然后下面一句是出生，就是生老，就是我们中文里面的生老病死，我们不能够总是被这些最终的英语是脸哈，它其实我们这些最终的这些表象，我感觉它是表象的意思啊，而感到愚昧，就是我们不能仅限于不能被生老病死这些表象而愚昧到，好像就是这个意思，大概是这个意思。然后我一会儿会把英文也发到咱们群里边，大家可以自己再看看。然后老师他其实分析的时候呢，先讲了下面这个，就是讲了生老病死。然后老师说，那个就是生命是痛苦的，佛教是从这儿开始的，就是生命是痛苦的，像梵语里面是 dukkha 的意思。然后我们这个痛苦不是说佛是痛苦的，也不是说什么事情不是说是什么是痛苦的，而是我们总是期望一个事情，但是这个事情没有按照我们所期望的走，或者说我们希望的事情呢没有按照你所想的方向走，所以痛苦。佛里面的这个老师说指的是这个痛苦，然后多帕他之前原来的那个意思指的是一个车轮没有正常的走在轨道上，所以它翻译成了痛苦。你看，像我们人没有决定要来到这个世界上，没有人问过你，你想不想来这个世界上？你想成为男人还是女人？你没有选择的权利，我们没有选择，我们也没有选择自己的父母，但是呃，我们就来到了这个世界上，它不是按照你的意愿来的，就好像我们都希望，那有些人总是可能问你，就是那你有什么会让你高兴的事情呢？我们小的时候呢，可能你会觉得每天一天天长大，你会很高兴，但是我们每天都在变老， 当你在40、50岁以后呢，你可能就不会再高兴了。就是当我们每次过生日的时候，你可能就不会再高兴了，不会像小朋友一样，5岁、6岁、1年级小学、2年级的时候那种喜悦就没有了。所以生命不会总是高兴，总会是让你得到满足。死亡也是如此。那这就是佛教是从哪儿来的？我们没有选择。那当你面对这个生老病死痛苦的时候，应当怎样处理？怎样放弃？怎样让它？怎样放手放下？其实是我们应该学习的地方。那老师说应该怎样做呢？其实你是可以通过练习，来来处理这些问题的，比如正确的想法、正确的语言、付出努力，还有就是全身心的投入到你想要做的事情当中。通过这些练习，对老师自己来说，其实是对自己一个很好的教导。那通过这些练习呢，让自己明白了要从我们周围这个世界当中的这个游戏当中，退出来。这个游戏不在于输和赢，输和赢是没有意义的，因为如果你总是想赢，或者说你不想输的话，就失去了原来的自由。所以输赢不是是主要的，而是你要接受和享受，就是从接受和享受在这个游戏当中，同样也要从游戏当中退出来。然后老师先讲的是第2条，然后唐开始讲了前面的第1条，就是第一个讲的是我们总是我们生来这个世界上的人总是这一生哈、就这一辈子，我们总是一直在担心，一直在不停的担心各种各样的事情。我们应该选择快乐。就是你是应该是选择快乐，而不是选择总是在担心什么。虽然我们没有不能选择出生哈，也不能选择什么时候死亡，你也不能选择呃，就是我们很多事情不是按照你的意愿和想法开始的，或者是发展的，但是你应该接受自己的人生。就是佛教里面讲的3心里面的喜心哈，就是我们在寺庙当中，像我可能我5月份要去参加那个坐禅，然后就是我们在庙里面的时候呢，每个人都是有职责的。像他们有一些人可能就是帮大家掐表，然后呢做这些就是行政这些工作，有一些小和尚呢，他可能就是帮大家做饭。所以你是有责任的，你在这个寺庙里修行是有责任的，但是这个责任不是你选择的，不是你选择的，不是你选择你想要去怎么样服务大家，你是帮大家掐时间，还是帮大家做饭哈？就是你是没有选择的，但是你是有这个责任的，你应该很高兴肩负起这个责任。呃，虽然你可能不喜欢做饭，但是你应该享受和高兴起来，承担起这个责任。这个就是佛教里面的喜心。然后老师大概刚刚说了这一些。Thank you.
Thank you. There's one question that was directed directly to me by chat. It's not connected to Sawaki's quote here, but it's a question about Zazen. So the person who asked the question wants to know what to do if you notice that during Zazen you're daydreaming. So basically you're carried away by the thoughts. He writes, often this seems to result in several minutes of daydreaming, with each thought merging into another. Am I supposed to bring my attention back to anything specific, or to just notice the coming and going of thoughts and allow it to be, and forgive the daydreaming? Well, there's a difference between daydreaming and being aware of thoughts coming and going. When you're daydreaming, you're carried away by the thoughts, and your mind is, well, absorbed by the content of the thoughts themselves. While if you're aware of thoughts coming up and disappearing again, you're not absorbed by the thoughts. you're not carried away. But you are aware of the thoughts, but your mind is not kind of sucked up by the thoughts. But in practice, often there's a thin line between these two states. So maybe in the beginning you tell yourself, I allow these thoughts to appear and disappear. I will just observe them as they are. But then you, realize that for several minutes you were actually not aware of the thoughts appearing and disappearing, but you were carried away by the thoughts. So if that happens, one way is to turn your attention on something specific, which could be your breath. Breath is something there where many people start. It doesn't have to be the breath, but you can just turn your attention to the breathing out when you breathe out, and then breathing in when you're breathing in. Or you can also turn the attention to the whole physical experience from the tip of your head down to the feet. Feel how your body feels, and that makes it easier to avoid being carried away by the thoughts. But again, that's not the only thing you can do. You can also try to allow everything to manifest exactly the way it's manifesting right now. That means your breath, the physical experience, what you see in front of you, the sounds, and also the thoughts. So you also allow the thoughts to appear and disappear. And it's just then this very thin line between just allowing things to appear and disappear as they are and being carried away. Because the, attraction of these thoughts is very strong. You try to just let them be as they are, but then you realize, oh, actually I've been kind of sitting on the thoughts. Or I sometimes use this metaphor of, a merry-go-round. And it's one thing to just observe the merry-go-round of your thoughts, and it's another thing to sit in the merry-go-round and you spin with it. And that's what often happens during Zazen. Okay, but if you want to say something about Sawaki Roshi's quotes from today, or you want to share something, Bernal, please.
Thank you. About the quote from Kodo Sawaki that says we should be grateful to be born as human being, I wonder if he goes along with the standard Buddhist belief that there are other realms where you can be born. And the conclusion normally is that the human realm is like the best realm to be born. But honestly, sometimes for me sounds a bit anthropocentric. So I wonder if, for example, if a bunch of frogs develop a kind of Zazen and philosophy, and they come to this conclusion that being born as a frog is the best realm, wouldn't that make sense? I don't know. I thought a while for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you were born as a frog, you should be happy to be born as a frog. Well, sometimes it's said in Buddhism, like there's the 6 realms and the human is the best because, well, there's still the heavenly realm, but there's no suffering. So in the heavenly realm, it's impossible to encounter Buddhism. But, well, is it better to be born a man or a woman? Is it better to be born in Mexico or in Germany or in Japan? And the answer, of course, is, well, there's advantages and disadvantages to all of these alternatives. But if you're born a male and you were born in Mexico, I would say you should be happy. You should be happy that you were born in Mexico, not in Germany and in Japan. Because if you weren't happy, you can't change the fact. So I think it's about you should be happy that you were born exactly at the time you were born. Of course, if you were born at the time of Dogen, maybe you could have met Dogen in person. How great would that have been? Or maybe 2,500 years in India, maybe you would have met Shakyamuni, but I think we should be happy to be born right now in the 21st century, not because it's the best century, but because it's our century. And if I was born as a frog, I should be happy to be a frog. Great to be a frog, because that's what I am. And what else do I have? I should be happy that I have the privilege that I can do Zazen every day from day to night. But I'm not a frog, and I'm Muho, and I'm happy to be Muho.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else that you would like to ask or share?
Hello, Aiko here.
Aiko, hey.
Hello, everyone. I would be happy to be the cook.
Mm.
So, and I like this Kishin, joyful mind. I like it. And maybe one of these classes you can talk a little bit more about Kishin. I don't know if this is possible. I wonder, where does this come from? Where does Kishin come from? It's suddenly there sometimes, and I don't know. And would it be a good thing to follow this Kishin, or to nurture it and to live it out? And yeah, and I thought about maybe cooking is my Zazen. So I like cooking more than sitting. So that's it for today. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure that Kishin is a good thing, and it's good to nurture it as we can. I don't know if it has anything to do with, I forgot the Indian name. There's these 4 states, like the first 2 are Karuna and Metta, kind of love and compassion. And then the third, I forgot the Indian name, but it means to share the joy, to share into the joy of another person. And then the 4th, I think in Sanskrit, is called upeksha, which means equanimity. These are kind of 4 states of an enlightened being, of a bodhisattva. You have compassion for others. You feel joy when they are lucky, rather than being envious, which is also something that we often feel. If somebody else wins the lottery, we hate them just for winning the lottery. Why couldn't I have won the lottery? I wanted to win the lottery, and now he did it. And kind of the opposite is joyful mind. But I'm not quite sure if Dogen Zenji thinks of that if he says Kishin, because in the case of Kishin, it's not that the cook is happy that the others can do Zazen while he's cooking, but rather he's happy that he can cook. He's happy about his situation. Maybe one of these days I can talk a little bit more about it. Although mostly what I said now is everything you can say about it. There's really not so much more to say about it. Anything else you would like to ask or share? Joseph in the chat function writes, I would also like to hear more about this joyful mind in the future. Okay, I will think about it. Anything else? I hope by now everybody has realized, like last week and also this week, there were a few people that wrote me, I can't get into the Zoom room. There's nobody there. That has to do with summertime. So in Europe and maybe also in America, people switch to summertime, but here in Asia, at least not in Japan, there's no summertime. So I think it means that it's now 1 hour later. But those who are right now here probably have realized. And if you watch this later on YouTube and you wondered why couldn't I get in, maybe it was because we didn't switch the time here in Japan. So it's 8 o'clock evening in Japan all around the year. And depending on your time in Europe, sometimes it's 12 o'clock and sometimes it's 1 o'clock. I think in the summer it's 1 o'clock. Anything else you would like to ask or share? Yes, Bernal, please.
Just about the time schedule, because I'm in China, are they always 1 hour in front of China in Japan, or do they change sometimes?
Xuan-san, probably you know that best.
Yeah, it's the same. We don't change the schedule.
Okay. So if it's 1 hour now, then it's also in the winter 1 hour. Oh.
Okay. Yeah, which part you're in China?
In Shanghai.
Oh.
Yeah. Hopefully I visit Osaka one day. So
Anything else that you would like to ask or share? Ginjo-san, please.
I hope the time is okay. Thank you. To be happy, I actually don't know what really happy means. Every single one person has got different ideas what happy means. And I think as a human beings under different conditions, but it's very easy to stay miserable and get worried and complain about things. But being happy is not the long-term thing. Once you get happy, then on you stay happy. It's not like that. But there are moments in a life you feel happy, and to be a person not to oversee and not to oversee that moment. I think it's you have to learn in a way, I think. And I think I'm quite convinced without this practice, I couldn't be aware of happy moments that much. And through that practice or through Zazen, I'm not doing Zazen. I'm not sitting to get happy. That's not an aim. But getting happy, aware of being happy, aware of happiness is something as a human beings to learn, I assume. What would you say? Could you please say something? Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, what you just said, it makes complete sense to me. I think probably we spend too much time on finding things that we can be unhappy about. Like it's, we say that we are unhappy because this, but actually we are using our mind, our attention to find something to be unhappy about, rather than cherishing those moments where we're actually quite happy. And it's almost paradoxically, whenever we are happy, we get worried, but there must be something to complain about. And we're going and switch on the TV, we go onto the internet to find something that we can complain about, because I can't be possibly happy. We almost feel a little bit, well, guilty maybe, or dissatisfied with ourselves. If there's nothing to complain about, what am I doing here? I need something to complain about. I need something to be unhappy about. And probably that's actually the root of the dukkha, most of our suffering. It's not that we're really in super heavy suffering, but we need suffering so we can complain about something. We have something to. Yeah, sometimes depending on the friends you have, there's conversations like today this happened to me and now I feel really bad, and the other person says, what are you complaining about? Even something even worse happened to me, I'm even unhappier. Every one of us wants to be the unhappiest, and it's almost like a game where the unhappiest person is the winner. I suffer more than you suffer. And in that game, if you say, actually, I'm quite happy, you're the loser, and we don't want to be the loser. Maybe even in that sense, there's this famous quote by Sawaki, like, winning is delusion and losing is Satori. So in that case, being the loser can be a big Satori. Actually, my life is quite fine. Actually, my life is quite fine, and everybody thinks I'm a loser because I have nothing to complain about, but actually I'm quite fine with that. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Sebastian, please.
It's maybe too big for the moment, but I was wondering, when you say everybody's suffering because of that game that you told right now, I ask myself, how can you help people not to suffer? Maybe it's too big for this evening, but it's a big question for me.
It's also a big question, because you can at the end of the day, you can't really help them. You can only maybe bring people to the point where they realize, I don't want to suffer, and what I just said, but I'm creating my own suffering. It's the stupid game that I play, creating my own suffering. So it's only up to me to stop playing that game and saying, actually, I'm quite happy. I don't have everything I might wish for, but I have everything I need. If I wanted to complain, there's lots of things to complain about, but I can stop. I can stop right now. And to bring people to that point where they say, well, let's just stop. It's not so easy. And as you said, well, maybe it's too big to answer right now in a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Xuan-san, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, about the dukkam you just said. I heard one explaining about dukkam. It's about space. If you have less space, you feel dukkam. If you have more space, you feel sukham, which is opposite happiness. So maybe loser have more space, then
yes,
you feel happy. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, from Yoga Sutra.
Yeah, because what I call the loser. Loser is somebody who's not a slave to the game anymore. He doesn't have to win. So he has the space, the freedom to lose. And even if I'm the only one in the room who has nothing to complain about, I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah.
Just following up on that one, I had some small comment, but it sounds like you have some more.
No, please.
So I totally agree that we should quit the game and not worry about winning or losing. In my experience, though, like before, when I worried about winning or losing in something in a competition I care about, I will get really nervous and really worked up. But sometimes I'll do better. And then recently, like I've let go a lot more. Be like, like you don't have to put yourself through this, just enjoy it. And it's more pleasant, but I don't know if it's because of that, but I'm losing more. So like, how can we quit the game and still try to win?
Winning. I mean, where's the problem with losing? It would only be a problem if you don't take what you do serious anymore. Like being okay with losing is a different thing with, it's not the same as playing the game in a half-assed way. You don't take the game serious anymore. So if that should be the case, if that's the reason why you're losing, maybe you should remind yourself that being not a slave to the game is not the same as playing in a half-assed way. So of course you should take every day, every encounter serious, because it's the only one of its kind that you have in your whole life. There's nothing outside of the game, so to speak. But as long as you take the game serious, which means you take your life serious, you take each single encounter serious, and you still lose, although you do your best, what's the problem? What's the problem?
I really like that answer. I just wanted to unpack that a little bit more. Is that like, yeah, you can see someone win like a sports competition, and they might be like stalling, and they might be playing in a really like boring way, and everyone will really hate watching it. Or someone could end up doing a lot of really great things in a game, and then end up losing, but it's probably better. So that really reminds me what you're saying, and it's great advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else that you want to share today? If not, it's already 9:15 here in Japan, so it would be a good time to end. Next week it's about the Fukan Zazengi, Dogen Zenji's instruction about Zazen again. So I wish you all a good week, and if you like, see you again next Monday, same time, same place. Thank you.